Since 2003, this is The Sports Source. With your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's episode of The Sports Source. 90 minutes coming at you. 2 scrimmages in the books, 2 weeks until the first game, and too many things to cover in 90 minutes, but we're going to try. We've got everything from the scrimmage reaction to the latest on the quarterback battle. It's a done deal, right? It's Joey Aguilar, so why don't we just say it's Joey Aguilar? Are we still splitting reps over there? We're also going to be talking about the Adidas Nike flip-flop. Danny White wants you to know it's not about the money. But we're going to talk about Adidas. We're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about 2 big names on the recruiting trail that Tennessee fans are longing for. Just a lot of stuff in the next 90 minutes. Some interesting stats on Joey Aguilar. Following up on a question I asked last week, I went and found the answer. Surprising answer. Let's get into it. First segment of our show brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. I tell you about these folks not just because they're a sponsor, but because I use them all the time. You've heard me talk about them forever. To be honest, I'm about 20% hoarder. If there's a spectrum for hoarding, I'm probably at the lower end. It's hard for me to throw stuff away. Junk Be Gone helps me from becoming 100% full hoarder. They do a great job. Right now, rent a driveway dumpster before the end of August and get 2 extra days tacked on free. 2 free days, extra time to fill that thing up and then have them haul it away. Get your house clean in time for football season when everybody's coming over. Get rid of that old furniture, bring in the new stuff. JunkBegone.biz to learn more. Mike Such and his family do a terrific, terrific job. All right. 4 more people that do a terrific job. We have right over here, Vince Ferrara. Welcome back. Glad to have you right here. Appreciate Tyler Ivins right there. Thank you. Ryan Callahan right here. Thank you for being with us. Jimmy Heins back with us as well. Thank you for joining us, Jimmy. Okay, Vols held their second scrimmage and their final scrimmage of the fall on Friday. The offense, according to sources, it's funny, when everybody uses unnamed sources and you don't like what they're saying, fans get mad. Yeah. I don't hear anybody complaining right now about the sources and what they're saying out of the scrimmages. It's like, give me more unnamed sources. Find anybody. So a lot of sources talking, and from what the sources said, the offense took some steps forward. The defense was ahead of the offense. Scrimmage 1, to be expected. This week, the offense took a few steps forward. Defense still strengthened the team, but there were at least some pluses. Specifically, Ryan, it sounded like there were a few sparks in the passing game.
There were. Now, some guys that were out, and I think there were some missed assignments, frankly, that led to some of the bigger plays in the passing game.
Defensive guys who were out.
Yeah, defensive guys who, some guys on the defensive line that were out, for instance, and you're mixing and matching still some different combinations. So I think some missed assignments and some other things like that maybe led to some big plays, but the bottom line is you did have a better day in the passing game. Mike Matthews showed up, Travis Smith, Rodarius Jackson. You still don't have Braylon Staley out there. Chris Brazzell still wasn't out there. That's the bad news, but the good news is you're at least making some plays in the passing game, and there were more positives offensively to talk about. I don't know that everyone's ready to say this passing game is going to set the world on fire, but it was much better than it looked the week before.
Has the offense, and I know you wrote this at GoVols 24/7, has the offense scored a touchdown that you know of yet? First-team offense?
Against the first-team defense, I don't think so. Yeah. But now, how many opportunities are they getting in scrimmages? Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that they may be getting 3 or 4 drives in scrimmages. So you're not playing a full game against the ones. You're just getting a few opportunities.
I just know people are talking about that because it came up a couple weeks ago. A reminder that in 1998, the offense didn't score on that Tennessee defense. So people are taking it as, this defense is going to be as good as that defense.
Well, Mike Matthews hit a big play, or Joey Aguilar hit a big play to Mike Matthews. He got inside the 5, I believe. The defense kind of bowed its neck from there, got a stop, forced a short field goal. So points, but no touchdowns that I've heard about against the first-team defense.
Anybody else have anything that stood out to them? I'll get to Josh Heupel and what he said about the quarterbacks in just a second. Anybody else have anything that they heard coming out of the scrimmage that caught your ear?
Well, I think sometimes you can choreograph if you want one side of the ball to have a little bit more success, too. Certainly. So there could be some situational stuff that may have popped up there. I think when you hear pass plays continue to go to Deshaun Brame, I think that's encouraging because that also is in line with what we've heard throughout camp. I think the tight ends have had a great one. I know we'll get to some of those other positions, but I think you can look at some positives on the offensive side, even though the defense still carries this football team right now.
Sounds like Jesse Perry's going to lock up the right guard position. What does that mean for center? I've been a huge proponent of wanting William Satterwhite to start at that position because of the versatility that Sam Piddleton brings to the table. Sounds like Sam Piddleton might actually outrun center at William Satterwhite, which I don't know if that's more about William and the recruiting against Penn State or if this is on Sam Pendleton. We knew Pendleton would factor in just where. Good on Jesse Perry. He's a great story, and I'm talking to a lot of people behind the scenes. You need a good story, and Jesse is that for Glenn Ellerby's offensive line.
John, I was told that on Tuesday's practice at Tennessee, the quarterbacks did not have a good day, but they did much better during the scrimmage. So I think the word used by Heupel was progress.
I heard on Thursday that it was not great, that the quarterbacks, well, the receivers didn't look good in the Thursday night practice. They had some donors in there, and the word that filtered back to me was you had a couple of interceptions that came off receivers' hands on that day. So I still think I don't think it's just a quarterback. I don't think it's just a receiver. I think it's that pass game remains a question mark. Right. And until those guys get on the field, until the receivers get on the field and work repeatedly with the guy who's going to be the starter, I'm going to have concerns. So let's talk about who's going to be the starter. Josh Heupel made an interesting comment after the scrimmage the other day saying, I thought both of them handled themselves extremely well. George did as well. I think that is a message. The word that got out last week, and we talked about on this show, it was looking more like Aguilar was not running away with the job.
Right.
Everyone knows that McIntyre probably has the most talent of anybody over there, though he is green, though he is $150 soaking wet. And it seems to me that Tennessee wanted to stick a pin in that balloon and pop that and make it say, no, this is Merklinger and this is Aguilar. My question is, no one seems to think it's Merklinger. How long are we going to, and Aguilar got most of the snaps. How long are we going to continue to say that it's these two guys competing? Why not just say it's Aguilar and give him these last 2 weeks with the majority of the snaps? Maybe that's the plan. If so, great. Why not just say it?
Because Josh Heupel thinks there's some value in keeping it a mystery to Syracuse and whoever else might be listening. He has never named a starting quarterback until game week. We went back and looked. He named Joe Milton the starter 3 days before the season opener in 2021. I think the best case scenario is Monday of game week. I think there's a chance he doesn't announce it until it leaks out the night before the season opener.
It's just silly. There are some things you do for a reason. Syracuse is not, Fran Brown is not sitting there going, oh gosh, we got to prepare 2 packages. We got to have a defense ready for Jake Merklinger. Yeah. That's not happening. I just think some of these mind games are silly for the sake of silly.
If it's making Syracuse waste 30 minutes of preparation on Jake
Merklinger, I don't think
though,
it is.
It's worth it.
I'll see you and I'll raise you. I think game week Monday when they hand out the depth chart, it's going to say Joey Aguilar or Jake Merklinger. Yeah. And until you see Joey, number 6, jogging out on the field for that opening drive, they'll go, well, here's Joey Aguilar.
It'll probably have 2 wars on the depth chart.
Yeah, that 100%.
Yeah. The big thing is, you mentioned the reps, the big thing is the first team work. Yeah. It doesn't matter what they say, whether they declare a starter or not. As long as if you know who it is, they better be getting the most work with the first team.
With your top receivers and your top offensive lineman and center. Yeah.
So. And I think Tennessee's taken some steps already in that direction. I don't know that Joey Aguilar got all the first team reps in the scrimmage, but he got clearly more from what I understand. So I think
it's not drastic like Heupel answered.
I think they're doing their best to keep it a mystery while everyone on the team pretty much knows number 6 is the quarterback.
And coaches are paranoid, right? In most sports. So, we didn't even have spring games because if you watched a play in the spring, you might get one of my players out of the portal. We can't have that. So you got some of that silliness going on.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of things that are, we do this even though we know it's ridiculous. Well, then stop doing it. And we might hit on something along those lines a little later, also in this show. Any other takes on the quarterback situation? Does anyone feel, it still hasn't sounded to me, it's almost like Aguilar has gotten it. Aguilar was going to be the guy from the start, okay? We said that all offseason. People were mad. People are still mad.
Yes.
If you don't say their guy, if you don't say it's Merklinger, you're cheating Jake. If you don't say it's McIntyre, you're cheating George. It was going to be Aguilar. They paid this man to come in from California. They went out. They tried to get a guy from TCU. They tried to get a guy from Iowa State. Tried to get a guy from Illinois. Kansas State's guy was mentioned as well. Basically, a lot of Big 12.
He has 56 career touchdown passes. Merklinger doesn't have 56 snaps in games.
Right. So it was going to be Aguilar. Do we feel though he's run away with it? I think they would have wanted him to take it and run with it, or is he just getting it because? Well, he was the leader at the start, and he hasn't done anything to lose it.
I was telling someone this yesterday. I think it is a little bit concerning, but again, how much of this is the receivers not being out there, but that we're not talking about how good the passing game looks or anything like that. We're talking about Joey's the guy, which, okay, great, he's the starter, but is he going to be an effective starter, a very good starter? That's what we don't know. And until Braylon Staley, it sounds like they're expecting him to be back out there this week.
Right.
Chris Brazel's been gradually ramping his way up. So he just didn't scrimmage. So if those guys are out there this week, I think Tennessee's hanging a lot of hopes on the next 2 weeks being really valuable time for Aguilar to get into a rhythm with his first team
I'll ride
offense.
those coattails. How often do you see a quarterback try to win a job when he's trying to work in a new center, when you're replacing 4 of your 5 offensive linemen, when your wide receivers aren't staying on the field, whether it's due to injury or away from the facility? Look, there is a little bit of a concern that Joey Aguilar didn't take the job, put it in a headlock, as you said. But also that being said, Jake Merklinger didn't take that opportunity to go, I'm going to play catch up as well.
No.
107 days when he takes snaps and 13 days in Atlanta. That's how long Joey Aguilar will have been on campus. Give him as many reps as possible to get him caught up. After Syracuse,
That's where I am, yeah.
it's got ETSU. Again, ETSU is going to give you no fight until September 13th when Georgia comes in here.
Yeah, so I'm with you. It's like get Aguilar
Give
ready.
Joey the snaps.
It's one of those things where I understand. If you want to have culture on a team and all this, and you want to, going back, we did this with Mike Stoll and Ollie Lane as soon as Aguilar arrived. How do you run one of these guys and let the team know, no, it was really a competition? Well, you set it up for the starter to look better.
Right.
And he should run away with it. He didn't. So that's a concern. But I would not feel as bad about this whole thing if Tennessee, if you had Joey Aguilar coming in here with veteran receivers who are healthy, with Cooper Mays back at center. Okay. The problem is I haven't heard great things about center going back to the spring, and your receivers have been missing time. That makes it more difficult to get Aguilar ready.
Yes.
And that's what worries me. It's the fact that it's basically him, it's that quarterback, and everybody around the quarterback. Literally, it's the one he depends on most who are also question marks or have been question marks. So you've been splitting reps and getting these guys to win jobs. I just think that's rough to get them all ready at the same time.
John, along those lines, I don't think many people, including me, think Aguilar's good enough to carry an offense. Right. He's got to have help. Yeah. And you pointed it out, the receivers and the offensive line. They've got to improve too.
Between injuries and inexperience, in my personal opinion, this will be Josh Heupel's most difficult year in Knoxville. If he can find success, this will overwrite what they did last year getting to the college football playoff.
Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by AG Heins Company. When I need building materials for this set, for the Sports Source Digital Network set, for my home, whatever, I always call Gordon Heins and his family over at AG Heins Company. They do tremendous work. They have everything I could ever need, and trust me, I don't need tons. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, man, they've really got stuff for you. They got everything you could possibly want, materials, tools, and the expertise to tell you what you need, what's going to do the best job for you, how to do it, how to use it. There's nobody else to call. AG Heins Company. If you're starting a do-it-yourself project, start it with them. Good people. All right, let's take a look. We've got a poll question for you today. You see it right there. Underneath the Hearthside Bank logo, you can click that QR code with your smartphone, or you can go to our website, ssdn.tv, or sportsource.tv still works. Go to the polls button and you can play along. Our question for the day, the AP poll put Tennessee at number 24 this week. Where will the Vols finish the season? Where will they be ranked in the end? Options, top 5, top 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, or unranked.
73% right now say 15 or lower.
Look at that, 27%, is that right, saying unranked?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, we'll see if that starts moving. Go ahead and start clicking for us. We want to see where you think the Vols will finish the season. And it takes a while when everybody starts clicking.
If I'm not mistaken, the team that finished 25th last year finished 8-4.
Yeah.
So you're saying Tennessee is either 8-4 or worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all that negativity Vince has been spewing down there.
Clearly.
People voting unranked.
Yeah.
All right, so Vince, we'll start with you, and you can turn these people around. Yeah. Reasons to feel positive. Reasons to feel positive. Names that you didn't expect to hear as mentioned as much. Position groups that may be a little better than what you thought. Anything that you take as a reason to have a little bit more confidence than what you had before fall camp.
Well, I think as far as a name, I would start with Jesse Perry. I didn't expect him to be this good, lock down that position, and really forced a more veteran player in Sam Pendleton into just competing at that center position, as opposed to we were thinking which would be the Sam Pendleton destination and then who would be the one opposite there. So I think it's a great development. He's put on over 50 pounds, super strong, smart. I think it's a great development for Tennessee to have that kind of solid starter at right guard, and then Pendleton at center, which is, I think, the more important position, especially with a new quarterback. Also, that whole offensive line with that development, I think, is more positive than maybe you could have thought of going in. Another thing is the tight end position. Knew this tight end position with what they brought in the signing class was outstanding. But, man, those guys are ready to go, especially Deshaun Brayman, who didn't have spring practice.
Yeah.
I think that guy is going to be a star. And then running back, I think, is another really –
leave some for the rest.
Okay. So, but overall, my point is there are some positives on offense, even though the passing game has left questions.
I think you can make a case that just about everything's a positive except for the passing game.
Yeah.
There are some positives to be found in all these pockets.
Yep.
Secondary may be because you've had some guys out and you've got off-field issues with Boo Carter. But Deshaun Brame is one guy. Deshaun Brame's a name that I did not expect to hear as much. Travis Smith Jr., and maybe that's because everybody I talked to has said this guy just looks fantastic. He looks the part. Now, last year I heard that about Chris Brazzell. But Travis Smith is getting a ton of talk. But the one that really takes the cake for me is Lance Hurd. I've heard you say it. I've heard other people say this. And I heard this from somebody who was at the practice the other day, that Lance Hurd looks like a guy on a mission. He looks like a guy who is out to prove last year was about the foot injury. That is not me. That he looks dedicated to having a big year.
Contract year.
That's right. So, but still, that is a surprise. I did not expect to hear him being usually the guy who everybody was mad at the year before is not the guy who's getting a ton of pub the second year. He's getting a ton of pubs, so good for him.
I've not tried to say that he's going to be Darnell Wright, but I think he will have a Darnell Wright-like jump his junior year.
Ollie Lane has been making that comparison for a while now, going back to when you guys were doing a spring show on the Sports Source Digital Network. But, yeah, Ollie's been tying that to Darnell Wright. Jimmy.
Well, interesting that Vince brought up Perry. There was a coach that said that they thought Perry was the most talented offensive lineman on the team.
He looks really good.
I thought was really a couple of them that have impressed me are on defense in the secondary. There's the concern about McCoy being out, and that's a legitimate concern, right?
And Boo Carter not getting as many snaps as you would like.
So Hood has done a nice job, the transfer from Colorado. Farouk has done a pretty good job, too, in the secondary. I think the secondary's come along to the point where even without McCoy, they can still be competent. Obviously, they'd be better with an All-American.
Certainly.
But with a couple of guys in the secondary playing maybe at a higher level than I would have thought, I think that's good news.
Tyler, wrap us up.
Yeah, from positives, Mike Matthews being used in special teams if Boo Carter is not available, or what some of the second or third tier like guys are, kickoff and special teams. So Mike Matthews is a wide receiver. Sure, you expect that versatility and where you can use some of those guys. 100%. Mike Matthews being able to blossom more than just being a wide receiver. When you talk about guys who got those big pay raises, Lance Hurd, where was he last year? Mike Matthews, you're handing out more money to Boo Carter. Mike Matthews, another man who seems like, how much can you keep me on the football field so I can earn the pay that I got on the offseason?
Well, and Hurd wants to get drafted is what I was referring to. But, that's definitely part of that, too. I was going to say Star Thomas is the name I was going to throw in. I did not expect to hear a lot of buzz about him. Sounds like he's at a really good camp where Tennessee really can count on all three running backs.
I'll give you two things I did not expect to hear before camp started, just to end up here. One, that I expected everybody to say the defense could be just as good. I've heard people, including you, say the defense could be better than last year. That's a heck of a statement.
Yeah.
The other one is that even though you don't have one for one, that this triumvirate of running backs, credit to me for triumvirate, this group of running backs could be as good as what Dylan Sampson gave you last year, which that is a very big positive. If you can get the same production out of these three that you got from what was basically one guy last year, That's a win.
I throw in DeJuan Morris, too, because I think he's a freshman who's going to eventually find his way on the field. Just got to get the pass protection down. Those 4 backs, Josh Heupel said it just a couple days ago, that's probably as deep as we've been at running back. That's a pretty good statement.
They were deep a few years ago.
Yeah, when you had Wright, Sampson, and Jabari Small, So.
And people have talked about, hey, you can rely on Josh Heupel in developing quarterbacks. Last 2 years, you dipped a little bit in quarterbacks. The one thing you can depend on with Josh Heupel is them running the football and being productive in the
Yes.
race.
And Jimmy, you have made the point early on when he was doing the up-tempo stuff that part of this, it's the system that helps getting 200 yards a game rushing. It hasn't been as up-tempo the last 2 years. So at some point, and we'll see what it is this year, but at some point we may need to recalibrate that and say, okay, is he just good at producing a run game regardless of the tempo? So we can discuss that at a later date. When we come back, and by the way, look at the numbers have shifted.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like the majority now says somewhere between 10 and 20. The unranked we've dropped that from 27% down to, 16%?
All that positivity.
That one segment.
Well, we'll see if we'll crank it back up because our next segment is reasons still to worry, reasons still to have some doubt. A little later in the show, we'll show you some numbers about Joey Aguilar that are pretty fascinating. We'll talk about the Adidas situation. Ryan's got a recruiting update on a couple of big names people are watching. All that to come. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Elkmont Station. Are you tired of chain restaurants? Because there are plenty, lots of chain restaurants. Elkmont Station is not a chain restaurant. Elkmont Station is local. Elkmont Station has farm fresh food, handcrafted food, signature drinks that you're not going to find anywhere else in East Tennessee. And it's the same great folks who are behind Scrambled Jake's Breakfast Company. You know about them for years. Elkmont Station, get out there and try it. It's off Campbell Station Road. Fantastic atmosphere, great food, great place to hang out with friends. Check it out this week, elkmontstationknox.com to learn more. Okay, we did the positive. Now I'm going negative. Jimmy, I'll start with you. We're back to 23%. We didn't even say anything yet. I can't believe there's this many people saying unranked at the end of the year.
Untimely commercial.
That's shocking. Yeah, the commercial.
It's Jimmy's reputation.
Jimmy, reasons for doubt, reasons for concerns. Are there positions? Are there things that you're hearing that you didn't expect to hear? And if it's something that we've already talked about, on and on and on, you can go there too.
Well, it is what we've talked about. I talked to somebody that went to a practice and watched it, and I said, I want you to watch it very carefully because I'm going to grill you on it. And he said the 2 worst positions that he saw were wide receiver and offensive line. Now, you could say the offensive line maybe got beat up by a really good defensive line. Okay, I get that. But the receivers, he said they didn't look good at all. They were dropping passes. They've been banged up, which leads to what you were saying, the passing game.
Yeah.
But now he put the quarterbacks, he said they were better than the receivers and offensive line, but the quarterbacks did not have a good day this particular day. They were much better Thursday during the scrimmage. It was Thursday, wasn't it? Friday. So, the receivers and the offensive line are the 2. Every other position, this guy liked. Quarterbacks maybe third on his list of needing to get better.
Yeah.
But he liked everything about the defense. He liked the running backs, the tight ends. So the 2 areas, receiver and offensive line, are the big concerns.
It's interesting. I haven't heard a lot of down talk about the offensive line. I've heard most of that was positive, with the exception, I continue to hear bad things about center. I continue to hear that is it's a question mark, a concern at center. Ryan, concerns.
I think center is the weak spot of the offensive line. That would be on my list of concerns. I'm going to start with the obvious one, the quarterback position. I just think the fact that we've not heard more about the passing game looking good, about Joey Aguilar running away with the job. It's more he's won it by default because Jake Merklinger hasn't really pushed him.
Right.
So I think that's not ideal. I just don't. I don't know what to make of the passing game. Again, so many receivers being out, it makes it hard to judge anything, but I do think it's not ideal that we're not hearing more positive talk about Joey Aguilar. It's just that Aguilar's the starter. And I'll say this, it's amazing to me we haven't brought up the injury that happened Friday. I think the injury to David Hobbs is a pretty significant one on the defensive line. I think he may miss at least a couple games to start the season. That's not ideal because that's a guy that I think has a chance to maybe replace the production you had in Omar Norman-Lott. I think he could have a really big year.
Negatives. And we can go with other injuries if we want that too. I mean, if you want to go back to one that started in January, The Jermod McCoy issues obviously needs to be mentioned as something that is a concern that you don't. My concern is, you're going to get him back. I don't know what condition he will be in. It usually takes guys an extra year to feel confident enough to be back to normal 100%. So I'm concerned about that.
I mean, I feel like that I'm just double stamping everything they just laid out in the wide receiver room. But Braylon Staley, where you thought maybe it was just going to be just something that would keep him on the sideline for a practice or two, has now lingered. And it seems like that we're frequently asking for an injury report update. I mean, only had 3 catches last year.
A guy who also missed a significant time in the spring.
It just, to me, when I look at this wide receiver core, when you add your top 3 guys, Brazel, Matthews, and Staley, you're looking at a total of 47 catches between the 3 of them last year, if I'm off by 1 or 2 on Brazel.
39.
30, okay.
So 49 total.
So 49 total. The point is, you got to get how many drop balls, how many times did you see receivers just absolutely, whether it was injuries or not, have a poor year? That's why I go back to last year when Squirrel White and so many of those guys were injured. Why didn't we see Mike Matthews have a coming out party before the Vanderbilt game? Mm-hmm. So again, this is another one of those 13 days until it's football time in Tennessee, and we still have large question marks about the injury report to Kelsey Pope's room. That to me is highlighted with italics.
Vince?
Yeah, David Hobbs is one, just outside of what we've been talking about with the passing game. David Hobbs is one because he's one of the 3 big defensive tackles in that rotation. Mm-hmm. And, there's some potential with the depth, but it's young after that. Or you have to slide more Don Bailey inside a little bit more to compensate for that. So that is significant. Another thing I would say, in addition to center and what we talked about, is in the secondary, and that's at star. If you don't have Boo Carter there, now you're taking some of your depth away from corner with McMurray there. Now, without McCoy, until he comes back or he's 100%, now you're a little bit thin in that area. So that's another one I would be worried about just a touch as well. But I still think there's still plenty of positives with this team.
Just had to end it on a positive, didn't you? That's right.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying
friendly positive.
This is the negative segment.
I'm just saying
you didn't end the positive segment with a negative.
That's true. I'll throw one more in there that just because people haven't. Because people haven't been talking about this. I'm not saying there's reason to really worry that this position group's not going to be good, but we haven't heard a lot about Tennessee's pass rush in general, and I think the Leo position has not proven that it's going to absolutely be able to replace what you had in James Pierce. Joshua Joseph has potential, but he missed some time in camp. Caleb Herring hasn't shown it yet that he can do it. And Jordan Ross, I don't know that he's ready to take as big a step as fans would like. So that group to me still has some things to prove.
Yeah, and you didn't have that many sacks last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
50-something in the country.
Yeah, you were not really big in sacks. You got 29. Some pressures, but you did not have a ton.
We talked about it on the Sports Source Digital Network, the lowest of 4. The best season, 29 sacks. It's kind of alarming where you're like, wow, you had a fantastic year for the Tim Meigs' defense. You just weren't getting to the quarterback as much as you did the first 3 years.
Exactly. All right. When we come back, September. Not October, not November. September is the most important month for this football team. True or false? We'll let these guys answer that next. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. We are just a couple of weeks from football season. That means 2 things. 1, the humidity of August is still in front of us, and that could be doing damage to your home unless you call Southeast Termite and Pest Control about crawl space encapsulation. Look that up on their website. You see it on your screen. The second thing it means, it's time to start thinking about the fall invader treatment. I do it every year. It keeps the ladybugs and stink bugs out of my house. When fall rolls around here in August, the dog days of summer, be thinking crawl space encapsulation, be thinking fall invaders, southeasttermite.com to learn more. Okay, let's see what the poll looks like. We want you to play along with us. Go ahead, get your smartphone, click the QR code. That unranked thing is not dropping, man. It's around 22%. That shocks me. But still, the majority of people think you're going to be somewhere between 10 to 20, and I think that's fair.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd probably be 15 to 20 if you asked me, but that's...
You know what that is, though? That says you're in the college football playoff race in November.
Which I think when you consider everything you've had going on on offense this offseason, I think you'd take that all day long.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk about what it will take to be alive in November. Got a simple true-false question for you guys. Tyler, I'll start with you. At Tennessee, the saying is they remember what you do in November. Not this year. It's September. September. True or false? September is the most important month for this Tennessee football team.
False.
Okay. Why?
Because, again, you have taken so much time for Joey Aguilar to be splitting reps, battling injuries, going through camp battles of who's better than who to figure out, get comfortable with this system. We were talking a little bit about this off the air, and I think it's perfect, so I'll bring it on the air. Syracuse, ETSU, you need to chalk Georgia up for what Georgia is. I know everybody's gonna hit with the Stetson Bennett, first true, or not Stetson Bennett.
Stockton.
Yeah, thank you, Hunter Stockton. First true road game, and I hear you there. They're just on a different level right now. UAB and Trent Dilford, you go on that road trip down to Mississippi State, Starkville. So if you start 4-1 going into your open date, I think you're doing pretty solid. You come off that open date, and then you've got matchups against an Arkansas team you were supposed to beat last year, the revenge factor, and what are they going to throw at you with a pretty darn good quarterback? You then have the Alabama game where Kalen DeBoer's not going to want to start 0-2. What I'm getting at, okay, October is where it is for me because if you finish below 500 just in the month alone, 3 games, and you do have to go to Kroger Field in Kentucky, you go 1-2 after starting 4-1 in the month of September, you've essentially eliminated yourself from the college football playoff.
Okay. Who's next?
It's false for me on September. I don't know where you're going with this, but I think it's an important month for Tennessee to develop as a team. So I think I can see that argument for September to be a big month because you got to get Jermod McCoy back. You got to get your receivers up to speed.
You got to get some sort of chemistry between your quarterback and receivers.
You got to get Joey Aguilar up to speed. I think the first month is important for that reason. But in terms of just bottom line, I think it's November because you got Oklahoma, you got Vanderbilt, and you got Florida. All 3 games you could lose. 2 of them on the road. The Florida game in particular may decide whether this team goes to the playoff or not.
September's the most important. True or false?
I'm saying false. I think it's November as well. I think that's going to make or break your season. If you lose 2 of those games in November, or 3, then it's going to be a failed season. So the tone setter is September, and I think it's a close call, but the tone setter is September. But I think if you fall and screw up November, then that's what people are going to remember. So I think it's November.
I say false as well in September. I think it is November. It's the one month where you have 2 ranked teams, at least as we sit right now, that you play. And it's an improved Oklahoma team. Yes, it's at home, but it can be tricky. And then Florida. Florida has kept you from doing a whole lot in the past, so I do think it's November.
2 road games in the month of October. I understand one of them is in Lexington, but Josh Heupel, the ability to win away from Neyland Stadium is always a huge storyline.
I'll say it's true that September is the most important, and here's why. You said, okay, if you come through this 4-1, what if you don't come out of it 4-1?
Then that adds more stock. It's not done, but October and November is a must-haul.
If you are 3-2 coming out of September, you have lost to Syracuse, all right? That would be a bad, or Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Either one of those is going to be a terrible loss.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Forget the playoff. Because if you also chalk it up as a loss to Georgia, so if you come out of this month with 2 losses, Georgia's your best chance to make up ground in a playoff. Georgia's the best win you can have this year. Because I don't know what Florida's going to be at the end of the year. I don't know what Oklahoma's going to be at the end of the year. Both those teams could be chewed up and spit out by the time you face them.
Sure.
Syracuse has an ungodly schedule. They literally play 9 teams that were like in the top 25 this year. Most of them are on the road. If you lose to them early and then they get their brains kicked in the rest of the way, that loss can look horrible. I think if you don't come out of September 4-1, you're in real trouble, and people have already said, well, we're done with the playoff. Because I don't know that you can make enough ground. If you lose to Georgia the way you always lose to Georgia, and you somehow lose to Syracuse or Mississippi State, I don't know that you can make up enough ground by beating Florida, who may be 3-4 losses by the time you see them. Oklahoma, maybe 3 or 4 losses by the time you see them. I don't think you can crawl back into the playoff race. Now, do I think they'll beat Syracuse? Yes, I do. I think they'll beat Mississippi State too. But we're just talking about what's important, and in my view, this is your easiest month. You better take advantage of it. And I don't think you're going to pull the Georgia upset. So who have you got? If you're walking around right now saying, there's nobody else that scares me on this schedule, that's a 2-way street, because that also means there's no one that's going to impress people around the country if you pull off wins against these teams.
I would say just to counter that,
Yeah.
you could go 4-1 in September. It doesn't guarantee you anything after that. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to not have losses And so
I'm
then
just
how
saying-
important is that?
Well, because I wouldn't want to have to play 2 more months knowing I'm not going to the playoffs, as opposed to losing the playoff spot in November. You're at least competing for it later. If you blow this thing in September, people are going to be upset for the rest of the season. If you lose to Syracuse and Mississippi State, you're going to be dealing with grumbling. You lose to Georgia, you'll have some grumbling, but people will understand it. They're not going to understand Syracuse or Mississippi
If they lose to
State.
Syracuse and Mississippi State, I bet we've got a freshman starting at quarterback before the end of the year.
Okay, there you go. Let's say if you don't come out of this 4-1, is Aguilar your quarterback?
It's,
Going
it's
into
at least an
October?
open question.
It's the most important month, boys.
Yep.
Go ahead, finish it.
Alabama?
Not
At
important.
Alabama?
No, it is important, but that's not going to get you wins that's not going to get you clout like Georgia. I don't know what Alabama's going to have this year.
Alabama might be really good, I think.
They may be,
So,
but you
I'm
also
on the
don't
same
know anything
page.
about their quarterback. They got a quarterback. Did they pick the right guy?
I personally believe they didn't. Good point.
Chuck Cavaleris would say all of them are important.
They're all important. That's it. So, yeah, we covered all our bases. We had in September, we had in October, and we had a bunch of Novembers. I thought so. Thank you, Tyler. When we come back, some interesting research on Joey Aguilar's interceptions and why it's important to clean them up. We had a question I asked last week on the show where I went and got the answer. And I was shocked, I say, by the answer. You'll see it next. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine Skeeter Bass Boats, Hurricane Deck Boats, Creval Fishing Boats, Suncatcher Pontoons, G3 John Boats, Sweetwater Aqua Patio Pontoons. I could go on and on. You want me to just keep listing them? It's amazing how many boats they carry at Madisonville Marine. All the makes and models you can imagine, all under one roof I say under one roof. It's too many to put under one roof. They've also got a giant parking lot with all the boats out there. madmarine.com to learn more, but folks, do yourself a favor. If you've ever been in the market for a boat, head down to Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Meet the folks, talk to Joe Special and the team down there. They've been doing this since 1976. They sell boats all over the country online. You don't do that unless you've got some spectacular selection and prices. There's no better place to buy a boat than Madisonville Marine. All right, let's take a look. The final poll results. Unranked stayed at 22. The winner is 15 to 20 at 29%. And then 10 to 15 is 27%. You got 10% say top 10, 2% say top 5, 10% say 20 to 25. So, that is 27, that's what, 56%?
Yeah.
That's not between 10 and 20. I think that's realistic.
I don't know where you guys are at on this, but I'm looking at the record breakdown. This is the split between people believing if Tennessee's going to go 9-3 or 8-4.
Which is where the over-under
Win
is.
total is 8.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's legit. All right. Followed up on something last week. We were talking about, is it an excuse or is it a reason? And it was different topics, but one of them was you got so many people saying, well, Aguilar, the Appy State was behind all year. That's why he threw all those interceptions. They were behind all year. So I thought, well, let's see. Let's check that. So I checked that. Take a look at the numbers. It's amazing. Aguilar threw 0 interceptions last year when winning or tied. All 14 of his interceptions came when trailing. Now, so you knew this already?
We talked about it last week.
No, we didn't bring up that it was all 14. We talked about the fact that how many of them was he really trailing? You weren't even paying attention, and you were in the second.
No. Yeah, we weren't. I made a comment because
No.
you made a joke about how often I gamble, and I had to go back and watch all these games.
Yeah, but you didn't say that all 14 were winning.
Oh, you're right.
trailing.
We didn't go in this year much.
So anyway, we got there's your actual numbers. I think that's pretty amazing. Now, the problem is if you're saying, well, see, he had to throw them. I don't know that was trailing by 1 point in the first quarter. If that's the case, that's one thing. Yeah. If you're trailing by 20 in the fourth quarter and they know you're throwing, that's a different thing. Anyway, I put that up there because I find that fascinating.
It is.
Tennessee better get a lead.
Exactly. Yeah. 14 interceptions, all when trailing, none when winning or tied. Now, that wasn't the case in 2023.
I will say
but
that
still
potentially bodes well for a team that may have a good defense and running game.
Yeah,
there you go.
I think that should give you reason to feel a little bit better about his interceptions. Now, let me give you a reason not to. Take a look at this stat. I wanted to see where the interceptions were thrown. Inside your own 40-yard line. 9 of his 14 interceptions last year were inside his own 40. 4 of the 10 the year before that. He's thrown 13 interceptions the last 2 years inside his own 40-yard line. In the last 4 years under Heupel, you've thrown 6 of those inside your own 40. So the problem is, of course, if you throw an interception at the other team's 20, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're setting up the other team to score, that's another. Now, the reason I looked this up, I didn't go back and check the pick sixes, but I did look at a number this week, and it's from the NFL, and it's a little old, but I think there's truth to it. we were talking about pick six last year. We said something on the Sports Source Digital Network. In the NFL between 1970 and 2010, so it's 15 years old, but I bet the numbers haven't changed. If you threw a pick six, you lost 77% of the time.
Wow.
One pick six and you lost 77% of the time. I'm guessing in SEC play, it's a harbinger of doom as well if you throw a pick six. So it's not just the interceptions that you need to clean up. It's the fact where you throw them, and are they – if we look last year, Tennessee beat Oklahoma by 10, beat Florida by 6 in overtime, beat Alabama by 7, beat Kentucky by 10. Put one interception inside their own 40 in any of those 4 games. I don't know that you're 10-2.
You go from a 10-2 potentially going to a 7-5 season.
Could have. So that's how important it is. Yeah.
You remember the name of Mike Archer?
Yes.
So
former LSU coach.
He was a defensive coordinator when I was covering LSU, and I asked him years ago, what is the most important stat to determine an outcome? Is it kickoff returns? But he said pick sixes. That is the one. If you have a pick six, you're getting. I don't remember the percentage.
Right.
It may have been 75%. He said that's the biggest determiner as to whether you win or lose a game if you throw a pick six. Especially,
and this goes the other way, if a team is having to win with defense and not putting a lot of points on the board, a pick six can be, well, the reason you lose.
Devastating. Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. One, yes, it was all 14 were when he was trailing last year. Fascinating. Then the other thing was 9 of your 14 last year and 13 of your 24 have been inside the 40. Now, you don't want to be throwing picks deep in your own side.
Now, stats can mean different things. One thing I wonder about that, I'd have to go back and watch them all, obviously, but what that can mean sometimes is you're struggling to get something going. You haven't even started your drive. It's third down. Nobody's getting open. Your offensive line's not giving you protection. You're just trying to make something happen. On a bad team last year that went 5-7, I could see that. So what does it mean? You know, you kind of have to watch each one. If you're just to me, it's a bigger concern if you're just forcing a pass into coverage because you think you can make the throw, as opposed to I got no other option because I'm getting pressured every play and nobody's open.
Well, you can also say if you throw 9 interceptions from inside your own 40, but every one of them was just a heave to the other end zone, okay, that doesn't impact this. Yeah, arm punt. But still, I just thought it was that's just to put out those numbers. When you think back to 4 close games last year, again, those interceptions, it's really what wins out here. Aguilar's thrown a lot of picks. I mean, we talk about, well, his good year he threw 10 picks. And then you look on the other side, Heupel's teams do not give up a ton of picks. Which one moves? Does he bring Aguilar, does his system bring Aguilar away from those interceptions? Because your whole season could be riding on that.
He'll get benched before he throws 10.
I think that's true.
Probably, yeah. I do. But do the guys behind him then stack on 10 as well? We don't know. All right. When we come back, Tennessee leaves Nike to be the flagship school for Adidas. And Danny White sounds like he's no big fan of Nike. Interesting comment. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by our old friends at Express Frame, the Common Shopping Center out on Peters Road. Folks, whether it's a diploma or a shadow box for your graduation cap and stole, or a piece of sports memorabilia that needs to be protected behind museum-quality glass, Express Frame does it all. I was in there this week with something, an item that I really treasure, and I took it to them because there's no one who can, A, protect it, B, make it look darn good. Make it look like an artwork. If you ever look at the Sports Source Digital Network and you see our sets with all that stuff on the walls, 99.9% of that, Express Frame. ExpressFrame.net, but get out to the Common Shopping Center on Peters Road. See our friends at Express Frame this week. Okay, guys, I want to remind you, let's not talk about the recruiting aspect of this for a minute. We'll get into that with Ryan next, but it had been rumored for months, and UT finally made it official this week, they'll be leaving Nike to become the flagship school for Adidas. 10-year deal, signature line of shoes, marketing campaigns with UT athletes. They offered a big opportunity in terms of the NIL. Many fans don't like Adidas. You won a national title wearing Adidas in 1998, but a lot of fans don't like Adidas. I still think this was a no-brainer.
Yes.
Danny White, and I'll throw this out here too just to save time. Danny White made the comment, put it out in a statement, that they needed to find an apparel company that recognizes UT's athletic department's potential value and potential, quote, we refuse to partner with someone who does not feel the same way. Nike wasn't paying Tennessee like one of its big boys.
No.
And Nike apparently, they had an opportunity to match. They're like, nah, we're good.
Right.
And I think, obviously, that ticked off Danny White, and they've moved on to Adidas. And now you can go. It was a move that makes sense.
When you hear how much money is getting dumped into the University of Tennessee by Adidas, and they're allowing you to still continue to build and create your own jerseys here in-house, they just want to have their logo on there.
Yep.
Come on.
Creative control.
Exactly. Especially if majority of this money is going back into the NIL aspect of it. Again, save Ryan for his segment to talk about recruiting. This is a no-brainer. Again, potato sacks, they could run out of the tee wearing potato sacks or any other logo. You all just want to win championships. That's all we keep hearing from the listeners. Whatever the logo is, just win championships. This is your opportunity.
You need the money. It's about the money.
No. Danny White made it clear. He wanted the fans to know. He specifically said it's not about the money, which gets back to what I said in that first segment about why not just say it's Aguilar. Why do you say it's not about the money? Everyone knows it's all about the money. It's okay. Just say it's about the money.
And there's obviously, I'm sure, some hard feelings and not understanding why Nike wouldn't value Tennessee's brand more like they should. So
the winningest program in the country right now.
Yeah.
I don't get it either.
when you put the whole athletic department
We
together.
saw a list of who the Nike providers were and who was getting paid more than Tennessee. When I got to Kentucky is getting more money from Nike than Tennessee, I went, cool, next.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky is a national basketball brand. Do they sell? Are there people out there who just buy a Kentucky thing and they're not a Kentucky fan? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably it. But boy, there are some schools like
UCLA with the Jordan brand,
Yeah.
next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
So no, I think I agree. It's a complete no-brainer. I think the fact that again, you would just be one of 15 good programs with the Nike logo on your uniforms. At Adidas, you've got a chance to kind of differentiate yourself. We'll see what it means in terms of how they make uniforms and all that. But when you combine that with the money, it's a no-brainer. This is an easy call. I knew it was headed this way. I mean, I didn't think for a second Nike was going to counter what Adidas did. But I had a friend send me a text with a picture from the Adidas facility or the headquarters during the negotiations. When Tennessee's contingent went down there to meet with them, they had painted an outdoor field with a checkerboard pattern. They were ready. They were all in on Tennessee.
Well, you look at their list of schools, and it makes sense
Yeah.
they want Tennessee.
I just think that in the current NIL deal and with we've got with revenue sharing and all that, I think it devalued Nike a little bit. And I think Nike's more focused on pro sports than they are college.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of college, but look at the pro athletes that they have in the. So I think in the college space, Nike has been devalued a little bit.
Well, and I also think that as long as Phil Knight's around, Oregon is always, you're never going to be as loved by Nike as
Right.
Oregon is. Yeah. And North Carolina with the Jordan brand and everything. Yeah. I just think with Adidas, and you may say, but I don't like that brand. It's not the big brand. You're still the biggest thing with that big brand, and that counts for something.
What Notre Dame is to Under Armour, you can be for Adidas. I'm looking. This doesn't help because the camera. I'm looking over Jimmy's shoulder right now. You have Al Wilson here in your background, looking at the Adidas
With the
logo.
Adidas jersey.
Yeah. Again, I understand it doesn't fit well, and it's the way that they look, and fans want good gear. And I'm wearing Nikes right now. I totally get it, but this is way too much money.
Yeah, see if Mahesh can flip that camera around to the middle guy, number 27 there. If he can flip camera 6 over and get a shot of our big guy over here, you'll be tight shot of the Adidas on the jersey. Just over Jimmy's shoulder. I don't know if the camera will go over there and get it, but here, let me show you. Al Wilson, right there. That's what we need to
I mean, it's just, to me, look at this. It's fine. As long as you're getting kids who are on campus and et cetera, it's a great-looking jersey, and Tennessee fans can remember it from 1998.
Let me give Danny White a lesson. Let's come back to me if we can. Sorry, Mahesh, I'm throwing off our director. Can we see me over? I'm over here. We've got presets with our camera, so it's hard to get over there. Yeah. This is what happens when you have robots everywhere. Please, Danny White, go back to the giant numbers on the jersey. Get rid of the Nike font. And also, one thing. This is an opportunity to sell more merchandise.
There you go.
That stupid Tennessee word mark with that Nike font they created that looks like a third grader did it. Please chuck that and get something professional. Hire an ad agency to do something nice. That word mark stinks. It has stunk since they went through. I know fans love it. Fans would love it no matter what it says, as long as it says Tennessee. it stinks. Get rid of it.
On the side of the quality, I know some fans have worried about that. I've spoken with people whose teams use Adidas jerseys and other materials. They say the quality has improved drastically the last 10 to 15 years. So.
Also helps that you got a VFL on the board now. Candace Parker is one of the biggest executives for Adidas now. You don't think she's going to throw her alma mater a bone?
You will. All right. When we come back, Ryan Callahan with a recruiting update, 2 big names that are out there, and how the Adidas deal will impact recruiting. That's what everybody's scared of. Oh, people love Nike. People love this. Come on back, we'll discuss. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. It's football time in Tennessee, folks, and to celebrate, Safety Systems is offering any new customers 90 free days of monitoring on one of their security systems. 3 free months. Call Safety Systems this week, and VFL J.J. Surlis and his team will take good care of you as they have me over many, many years. SafeTsystems.com. Make sure you spell it correctly. Safety Systems. Ryan Callahan, this is all about you. We're going to be kind of quick here, okay? So we've got, all right, we're still stuck on Safety Systems. Do we have a show? Oh, I'm sorry. We were supposed to go to a video. Let's go to the video.
Number one, you offensively don't have you don't have great personnel. You have to do something to counter the defense. And the best way to counter that is to run an up-tempo offense and to try to wear them down, and also to get some matchup advantages.
Are you willing to say Syracuse finds the end zone at least twice against Tim Banks' defense?
Well, it may not just be the end zone. Maybe they kick a few field goals.
They're going to have to find some way.
They're going to have to find some way. And
just knowing Coach Heupel, knowing the competitor he is, listen, he wants to hang 100 points on everybody. So he knows the defense will be fine regardless, especially if they're scoring a bunch of points.
This is the position that feels like the biggest question mark and the biggest concern for this offensive line as a whole, either way, no matter who wins that job.
Yeah, I mean, I think the center position is your biggest, if I had a red marker, I'd circle it. That's the one that's really, you got the eyes on it that you're watching for.
From what people who have been over there and seen them said, this defense has the chance to be right up there with where the defense was last year.
I forgot to do my tease for the Sports Source Digital Network. If you aren't watching the Sports Source Digital Network free, on demand, on YouTube, then you're missing all kinds of content from the Sports Source team you have come to watch over these many, many years, going back to 2003. It's up there all the time at YouTube. Just search Sports Source Digital Network, and you get tons of shows just like that. Okay, now, Ryan, quick questions just for you. Number one, Savio Hiter, the running back, Michigan, Tennessee. What are the chances the Vols grab him, and when is he going to announce?
He's announcing Tuesday, I believe a little before noon. This is a kind of an old school recruiting battle because no one really knows what to think of it because Savio Hiter has not said a word publicly about this in the months.
He's been viewed as a Michigan lean for a while.
But that's what I was going to say. There is a reason for that because it goes back to really late last year. As early as that, Michigan was the early favorite. And that perception hasn't changed. That being said, Tennessee, I think, has done a really nice job and has done everything it possibly can to win this one. So if it ends up going Michigan's way, I think it's one of those, you can't really fault Tennessee for doing anything wrong. They just didn't go your way, and Michigan was maybe going to be tough to beat all along. But Tennessee, there are reasons, if you're reading the tea leaves, to think it could be Michigan. But just knowing what I know about it, there are reasons to think either team could win this one. There really are. So I don't know, and we're not going to find out from Hiter's circle because they're going to keep everything possibly tight-lipped. They might not even tell the coaches on either staff, from what I'm told, before he announces.
Okay. Tristen Keys, wide receiver who had been committed to LSU.
Still is, officially.
I thought he took I thought committed to LSU was taken off his social media. I read that.
He is not decommitted. So now
I don't know. I'm looking at TikTok and what was it, Belichick? InstaFace. And I'm looking at all these things the kids look at. And I thought there were questions. Go ahead.
He is not decommitted, but this is one to watch. I'm really interested in seeing what he decides to do here. Obviously, there's been talk throughout the past couple months of what's he going to do. Is he going to keep things open the whole way to signing day, despite being committed to LSU? He's obviously been looking around, took 3 official visits to other schools, including Tennessee in June. there's a chance he makes a final decision before his senior season starts. He's not put out a commitment date or anything like that. Obviously, he's already been committed for months, but there is a final decision to make. And I think Tennessee has a real shot if he does end up making a decision before his senior season. So there's been smoke in June. There's been smoke at other times that suggested Tennessee had a shot. And then a week later, you were hearing something different. So this one's still got potential for twists and turns. But if he announces something in the next couple of weeks, Tennessee has a real chance of landing Tristen Keys.
Was the smoke smoky gray by chance? All right. Last question. Recruiting. We didn't talk about it in the last. I saved it to you just very quickly. There was a time when Nike, especially in basketball, they had a real hand in recruiting. They were a lure. And I'm sure there are kids who still prefer Nike. We had Kevin Simon did a Sports Source Digital Network and told me if I'd had I came close to picking a Nike school over Tennessee. I didn't like the Adidas stuff. Those were all days before money could be paid. How much is this going to impact Tennessee recruiting in football and in basketball, or across the board?
I think this is a big deal. It's only going to help Tennessee. I don't think there's any way this hurts Tennessee. I mean, there might be an occasional kid, and there are plenty of kids who have a personal preference for Nike over Adidas.
Right.
I have no doubt about it.
Was it A.J. Brown that said he didn't want to play in a school that wore black socks or something?
Yeah. So there are things like that. But when players hear what Tennessee gets from Adidas and all the opportunities that are going to come with this, it's gonna open more doors than it's going to close. So I think this is something that obviously, if Adidas follows through on what they're saying they're doing, they're gonna strike NIL deals with current players. It's going to help you with player retention. They're going to help you in recruiting land players. This is a big deal. There's a reason the Tristen Keys thing. Everybody already knows that Tristen Keys has an Adidas endorsement personally. Yeah. And all three schools he's looking to flip to, guess what they have in common? They're all Adidas schools.
Can you imagine telling a kid, hey, come to Tennessee, you get to help us create our New Jersey because we do everything in-house? This is a small little thing.
Let's not start that, please.
I'm officially putting that out.
Everybody gets their own jersey.
Help us design the jersey. Draw it yourself.
Yeah. When we come back, let's talk about some projections for the Vols postseason landing spot. ESPN had 3 different ones. A couple of writers and a computer simulation on a video game. Which one's going to be more accurate? Come on, back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. Folks, if you've been waiting to upgrade your home's entertainment room, you want to get it right for football season, but you haven't jumped on it yet, now is the time to do your jumping. Get froggy. Jump right now to the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road. Get to Games and Things, because life should be fun. And when you're talking about new home theater seats, when you're talking about a poker table, when you're talking about a bar and bar stools, when you're talking about classic arcade games, when you're talking about table tennis, air hockey, jukebox, that's fun, and they have it all. Games and Things. OurGameRoom.com to learn more. Better if you visit them. That showroom is fantastic. Games and Things. Okay, this is going to have to be a quick segment. ESPN spat out some postseason predictions this week, and I want to know which one you feel is more realistic. Mark Schleybaugh, longtime writer, puts the Vols in the Texas Bowl in Houston. It'll be the first time the Vols go to the Texas Bowl. He has them playing Iowa State. It'll be the Johnny Majors Invitational if it's Vols versus Cyclones. Kyle Bonagura has the Vols in a better spot. He has them in the Citrus Bowl again in Orlando against Michigan. The Vols went there 2 years ago, so you have the Texas Bowl in Houston. You have the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Finally, ESPN used EA Sports' latest college football game to simulate the 2025 season 25 different times. In at least one of them, Tennessee made the playoff as the number 7 seed, made it to the second round, and lost to Penn State, the number 2 seed. Which scenario is most likely, gentlemen? Texas Bowl, Citrus Bowl, or playoff? And before you answer, LSU was in the Texas Bowl last year at 8-4. South Carolina was in the Citrus Bowl last year at 9-3. And a playoff probably take 10-2. Mm-hmm. Texas, Citrus, playoff. Vince.
I will say Citrus because I kind of see them as a 9-3, but certainly 8-4 is in the conversation.
Okay.
Texas 8-4. You haven't been to the state since you beat Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl back in 2004. It'd be nice to go to a city. Vols fans haven't seen a minute in Houston.
No.
I mean, a bowl game.
Well, but in a bowl game, you haven't been down there.
Yeah, you haven't been to Texas.
Yeah, because you lost at A&M down there one year.
Right, bowl game, postseason.
Gotcha.
I'll say Citrus Bowl, but the tricky part about this is they were just there 2 years ago. So
That's
Take
why
that
I
out
said
of it.
Texas.
yeah.
We're just talking
so
ballpark.
I think based on the record, I'll say Citrus Bowl. I think Tampa is where they end up. Vince will be happy with that. But yeah, I think 9-3 is probably more realistic.
Jimmy Hyman.
Texas Bowl 8-4.
They rarely send an East team to the Texas Bowl. It's usually a Western part of it. They don't have the divisions anymore, but it's always been an SEC West team. But you think 8-4 more likely?
I do. I also think going to Tampa might be more likely, but that wasn't one of the choices. So I'm going to go Texas Bowl out of those choices.
I think that there's a mixture of 9-3s and 8-4s in there, but it's all about the pecking order. How many teams in the tennis does the SEC get into the college football playoff, and then where do you go for some of those schools like A&M, Auburn's, where their season finishes?
Yeah, and as Ryan said, you also have to factor in where have you been most recent and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You get into the political side of it and who wants who and that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you're looking at 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, I think 8-4, 9-3 are a lot more safe than 10-2 at this point. We'll see. I didn't project them to 10-2 last year.
So only 1 out of 25 projections or simulations.
They didn't break it down.
Okay.
I only saw one that had it. I think there was just one. Now the interesting thing there about making that, in at least one of those variations, one of those simulations, every SEC team, including Vanderbilt, including Mississippi State, made a playoff except one. Except one SEC team didn't make any of their 25 simulations.
Mississippi State.
No, they made it. They made a playoff.
Kentucky.
Kentucky did not make a playoff in any of their 25 EA Sports simulations. Mississippi State did. Vandy did. Everybody else did. But look, it's a video game. That's the one that's least credible. We just did it as a playoff Citrus, Texas thing. All right. When we come back, speaking of Michigan, who Kyle Bonagura had Tennessee playing, Michigan got their penalty, and Vol fans don't like it. They wanted a tougher penalty, even though Tennessee fans wanted their own. Welcome back to the Sports Source. Coming in 2 weeks, August 30th, it's the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Now, that show is already on, but it's not a Tennessee pregame show. 11 a.m. to noon, live right here on WATE6. And if you're in the mid-state and you want to see us and you're stuck over there, you can watch us on CW Nashville. It'll be 10 a.m. over there, of course. But that is 1 hour leading right into Tennessee versus Syracuse, which will be live from Atlanta right here on WATE6. And the Saturday kickoff will be me, John Wilkerson, Ollie Lane, Marlon Walls, Will Overstreet, Ryan Callahan, Vince Ferrara, Paige Dower, Tyler Ivins, Will West. That's a big old show. And that is 2 weeks from today right here, 2 weeks from yesterday right here. Okay. For their cheating scandal, which may or may not have aided South Carolina in defeating Tennessee in 2022, the Wolverines of Michigan were hammered financially, tens of millions in penalties. Jim Harbaugh, who's in the NFL now and doesn't care, got a 10-year show cause ban. Their current coach will be suspended for a couple of games this year, 1 game next year. But there's no erasing the national title that they did win with the aid of spying. There's no postseason ban either. In part because schools like Tennessee sued the NCAA and helped to defang it. But Stuart Mandel of The Athletic wrote the following, and I thought this was interesting. He's talking about how they're not going to get really hammered. So he says, therefore, Michigan keeps its national title, and now nothing can keep it from competing for another one this year. To which Wolverines fans will surely say, worth it. But the reputational hit that school has taken these past 2 years is no small thing. And that made me think of a specific movie.
I know that some of you put Flick up to this. But he has refused to say who. But those who did it know their blame. And I'm sure that the guilt you feel is far worse than any punishment you might receive. Now, don't you feel terrible? Don't you feel remorse for what you have done?
Adults love to say things like that, but kids know better. We knew darn well it was always better not to get caught.
All right, so technically, Michigan did get caught, but pretty much the shame isn't really much of a punishment.
Ralphie keeps looking around.
And Ralphie with those glasses does kind of look like Harbaugh. Your thoughts on the penalties? Is this going to dissuade anyone else from going out and trying to do a little spying? I mean, you're not really going to be hit hard on recruiting. There's some recruiting drawbacks, but it's not major. You're not losing postseason games. It's millions of dollars, but they're not even. They're appealing the fact that they gave their head coach one more game
An
of
additional suspension. Yeah.
Not necessarily the millions. So is this a big penalty, Jimmy?
No. And also, I think Michigan would trade. Let's just say they get fined $20 million. Would you pay $20 million to win a national championship?
That's what it is.
Ohio State did.
That's right.
So and there's not going to be I'm so shameful. I'm going to crawl in the hole. Nah, no, I don't buy any of that.
No. It'll be forgotten. There will be no asterisk beside it or anything else. Yeah. And if the Patriots had won in 2007, I would have been just fine with it as well. Yeah. You're an Astros fan. Do you give back? Do you take back the joy of winning World Series?
I wouldn't give a garbage can to take that back. No way.
I said she did there.
About a minute. Is it a big deal?
Not a big deal, and it's not a huge deterrent unless the fines get just astronomical. Nothing's going to deter.
I've seen 20 to 35 million somewhere in there.
It would have to be 50 to 100 million, I think, for anyone to care about that kind of thing. So I just don't think that's a big deterrent. And with no postseason ban, because their explanation on that was it would be fair to the players to punish them for past deeds. Well, if that's the case,
same thing that benefited Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. So they did that in the past. That reasoning didn't matter in the past, but now it does matter. Yeah. So the NCAA has been defanged, as you said.
30 seconds, guys. Is this a big deal for Michigan? Smack on the wrist. Okay. Yeah, I have to interpret. That was a smack on the wrist. Okay.
There's a lot more shame for the Astros because opposing fans still give them grief, but it's still worth it. There's still nothing.
Oh yeah, you think Tennessee fans wouldn't rejoice in this? Yeah. Are they not sitting there going, "I wish we could cheat, do this, get us a national title"?
My neighbor, Michigan alum, mowing his grass on Friday. Come take this off my chest. Yeah, doesn't care. He still gets his national championship,
and that meant his shirt. Yeah. I'm the guy who translates. Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you all very much. I appreciate you. We'll be seeing you soon. We'll see you on the Sports Source Digital Network and on the Saturday kickoff and next week right back here. Thank you. Have a good week.